Here we go. So our case is, I don't have it up, so I have to get it. Hold on. Let me go like this to my downloads. All right, here we are. Okay, so chapter 10 or chapter 13, right, in our 10th week of study is all about decision making. So even if you're not an accounting major, I'll forgive you, but you will still need to make decisions in whatever position you go to. So this is a good opportunity for you to start with your analysis and your critical thinking and all of that kind of stuff. So these are just examples of different kinds of decisions and really trying to open up your mind into thinking about the things that a company may, need to make strategic decisions about, right? So this one talks about a SWOT analysis. I'm sure if you've taken, is that your marketing class? I think you talk about SWOT analysis, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So those are like things that a company is good at, things that they could improve on, maybe opportunities. If you're a company that is well managed in this time of COVID, you may notice that there are some new or different kinds of opportunities that you may not have had before. And then what are the threats? So a threat might be COVID and you're a restaurant and you now are no longer able to serve at full capacity, right? So you have to really understand the different costs that are being affected, the different revenue streams, what you can do to pivot. Like these are all really great decisions for you to think about. Now, the muesli company isn't experiencing COVID because this was written before COVID, but we are all going to go to Germany and think about all of the different decisions that the muesli company is considering at this time. So we have our case, and I'm going to have you guys help me decide which kind of decision we're being asked to decide on. Okay, so this one says the various flavors of muesli are considered product lines. And if you look at the case study, up over here, whoa, there we go. You will notice that the nut muesli is not doing well. Do you see that? They are losing money. And so you think to yourself, well, if the nut muesli line is losing money, let's just get rid of it. I mean, who needs nuts anyway, right? So we may think about this and go, let's just stop making nut muesli so we stop losing money on that line. So let's take a look and see what happens. So there's some information they've given us based on what they know about the nut muesli line. So we're going to go through here. This is the statement, like this is all of the information as we know it, as the current state of affairs with all the different product lines. Okay, so over here, what we're being asked to do is say, all right, what if we don't have the nut line, right? What kinds of changes are we going to see in the composition of our net income? So if we stop selling nut muesli, how much sales revenue are we going to get from the nut muesli?
0.
0, that's a good guess. Which means how many variable manufacturing expenses, how much raw material am I going to need for my nut muesli?
0.
0, right? And then they tell us over here, they start giving us some clues. They say advertising is specific to the various product lines, meaning if I do not sell, or excuse me, if I don't manufacture nut muesli, I am not going to spend money advertising nut muesli. So there is a big fat 0 right there. Okay, the next thing says sales teams are assigned to specific. So in other words, I am a nut salesman or I am a strawberry salesman or woman. Yeah. Okay, so it says if the product line is dropped, the sales rep salaries will be discontinued. I'll lose my job. Okay, so let's go over here. So sales salaries for my nut guy would that be a nut job? If he was selling nuts, would that be a nut job? Well, anyway, okay. I'll try to stay on task here. Erin's going to keep me on task. I just know it. Okay. All right. So labor unions. Well, this is the third time I'm doing this. So, and you guys are the only thing between me and a glass of wine. So here we go. All right. So labor unions are strong in Germany, and direct labor costs are going to remain the same no matter what products are being sold. So look at it this way, you guys. Okay, and this is all very specific to every single case. It will not always be like this, but you just have to read the fine print. So this is like, 30 workers showing up for work. And some of them are going to go to the line where the bags are put together, and some are going to go to the area where the oats and the wheat go onto the assembly line, and some are going to go to the place where they scoop out the nuts, and some are going to go to the place where they scoop out the strawberries, or whatever. Everybody's going to have a job, right? So if they discontinue the nut line, then those people that scoop nuts for a living, the nutters, they're just going to go and help the strawberry people then scoop strawberries. Okay, so just for this particular situation, because direct costs are not going to change, even though they could be a variable cost, but we're just going to say direct labor is not going to go down just because I'm no longer nutting it. All right, so there will be the direct labor will go and stay the same. Okay, so okay, and this is a small deviation, but I just want to tell you that if I was perhaps doing this in a slightly different way, do you see how my direct labor, the total is really 960? If I were to do this in a slightly different fashion, I might just take that 960,000 and spread it over the 5 different product lines instead of leaving the nut and still leaving that cost there. Does that make sense? Because really what they're doing is they're now going to take the 960 and spread it out over the product lines they're going to maintain. Okay, so I just want to tell you this is a little bit of an unusual way of putting it together, but it's pretty, it's going to be very evident of what, okay, well, anyway, I'm not going to keep talking. So here we go. What else are they telling me? Okay, advertising with specific sales teams. They're going to fire the guy, the nut job guy. They're going to leave all the direct costs. Variable selling is based on commission. So I'm not going to pay commission if I'm not selling the product. All right, fair enough. And then it says all other fixed costs are divided evenly amongst the product lines. So said another way, so for example, this administrative expense, do you see how it's 36,000 in total? They had 6 different product lines, so they just took 36 divided by 6 and gave $6,000 to everybody. All right, so because we're just going to keep things kind of simple in this case. Oh, here, I put this in the wrong line. Oh my God, nobody busted my chops on this? Okay, so my administrative expenses, I'm still going to incur $6,000, even though it won't be for the nut jobs. It'll be spread out maybe with the blueberry, strawberry people. Okay, same is true with the building depreciation. That cost will just be spread over a different product line. Same with the manufacturing equipment. All right, and the research and development. Okay, we agreed no sales salaries because nobody's going to be selling nut muesli, so they lose their job. The transportation costs apparently are fixed, so even if I don't sell nut muesli, I'm still going to be transporting strawberry muesli. All right, so those will stay the same. All right, any questions so far? Did you guys get all that? All right, now I'm just going to total all my fixed costs. That's what this line is for right here. So I'm just going to auto sum it just like that. Boom. Okay, my contribution margin that I'm going to have for the nut line is going to be how much sales revenue I have less my variable costs. And 0 less 0 is 0. Okay. So there you have that.
Is there like a specific button you can click to like auto sum it?
Yes. Okay, check this out. Are you ready to be wowed?
Yes, I'm ready.
So I could do it a couple of different ways. Like I'll show you painful, just really quick. Painful would be I'm going to take this plus this plus this, you know, like, and that's painful, right? We would never want to do that. Another thing we could do is we could go sum, and then we could highlight all these things, but we might miss something. So the thing I like to do, because I'm always messing stuff up, I come up to this auto sum up here. Do you see that? And the auto sum, do you see how it has little dotty poos around it? That just says, oh, you know what? I think you want to add all these numbers together, don't you? And if it was wrong, I would just correct it. But in most cases, it will do that for me. Okay, does that help?
Yeah, I just was like having to do the sum and then typing it all out, but this is way better.
That's way better. Yeah. And you can pay me later. In 10 years, you can come back to me and tell me, thank you for teaching me Excel. Okay, so now, all right, so you guys, the rest of the lines stay the same. Just because I discontinue nuts, they didn't indicate that more people were going to swarm over to buy more blueberry or strawberry. The sales, the expenses, everything is going to remain the same for the other product lines. So guess what I'm going to do? Because I'm lazy, I'm going to take the blueberry, strawberry, raisin, and mixed. And do you see all this? I'm going to copy all of this. So I highlighted it. I'm just copying it. And then down over here, I'm going to paste special, and I'm just going to paste the values, and that'll leave my gold stuff in there. And look at that. It just brought it all down. Just like that. Does anybody want me to show you that again?
Yeah, can you do it one more time?
Because it's so easy. Okay, so I'm going to take my, would you agree that I need all these numbers? I need blueberry, strawberry, raisin, and mixed all the way down through the charges. I'm not going to include the net income because I'm going to total it all down. I'm going to total it for the company. So I'm going to take all this. You could right click and go copy, or you can just do Control C. And then I'm going to come down to where I want it to be. So blueberry started here with sales revenue. I want to start here with sales revenue blueberry. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click paste special. And I'm going to say, would you just copy the numbers for me? Just copy the numbers. Because if I don't do that, it won't keep all that orange highlight, whatever that is. Okay, so there you have it. Now what I'm going to do is, again, just like I did here, I could take this formula and say, you know what, I dig that formula. I'm going to go Control C, and I'm going to copy it all the way across like that. So that would be one possible way to do that. Another possible way I could do that is just like I did here. I could grab the auto sum and do it all the way over. But to me, that's way too many. That's way too many steps. I could also drag and drop like this. Okay, and that is super fun. So any one of those methods will work. All right, and now that I've gotten rid of the nut line, now I'm going to create a new total, right? So my new total is basically what's all my revenue. And now that I'm not having any nut revenue, I got to figure this out. So I'm going to add all these things together, and there's my new total. And because I want to sum the entire row just like I did here, I can actually just copy this formula down. Like so, and I can also copy it down like so, and I guess I could copy it here too. All right, so I just copied the formula because you can see that this formula says, oh, you'd like to add 30 through H30, C30 through H, yep. And this one says, oh, you'd like to add C38 through H38, C30, yep, very good. Okay, so I've got all my numbers in here. This is a total fixed cost. This is my total contribution margin. So to get my net income, I'm just going to take my contribution margin and subtract out my fixed cost, my total fixed costs. And now I'm looking at a net income of $163,269. And this number was already calculated for me. So what I want to look at, if nobody minds, let's see, can I do this? I was making, wait a minute, wait for it. I was making 275, 640 for net income, making nut muesli, and now, okay, that wasn't a very good arrow, and now I'm making 163,000. So I'm going to shrink this up just so I can see them. So I was making 275. Do you agree that was the net income for all of my product lines? 275. And now without the nut line, I'm making 163. How can that be? How can that be? So if you look at it, I have now given up $198,000 or euro of contribution margin by not selling that. So I'm giving up that much revenue and that much contribution margin. And yet I'm only saving the amount of advertising expense and sales salary in exchange for giving up that contribution margin. So that's where the difference is. All right. So the question number 2 on my sheet says, should the company stop selling nut muesli? And you can answer that for yourself. Right? And then the other thing is, what other considerations should go into making this decision? So I'll let you answer those on your own in your own spare time. But whatever you write there is fine. Well, there's only one right answer for number 2, but for the other ones, you can write whatever you want.
Professor, I have one question.
Yeah, go.
So you see how you got the 163,000?
Yep.
Did you add up the sales revenue minus all the expenses?
Well, yes, because this is my sales revenue.
Yeah.
And then I took out the variable costs and I came up with a contribution margin. So I actually started with my contribution margin.
Okay, yeah. For your variable expenses, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so alrighty, so there's that. All right, so would I rather, okay, and here's the answer to number 2. Would I rather make 275 in net income or 163 in net income? All right, that's your question. And what kind of a decision was this? Was this a make or buy? Was it a constrained resource? Like, what kind of question was this? What kind of decision did we make?
Should we make?
No.
Hmm.
Should we drop or keep a business segment?
That's right. Should we add or drop a segment? That's exactly what we decided. Okay, decision 2. Let's keep moving. Decision 2 says the muesli company purchases all of its packaging, right? So they pay 12.12 euro for the large bags, 28 for the large boxes, blah, blah, blah. And the management is saying, hey, we got a corner of the warehouse that we're not using for nothing, right? It's like collecting cobwebs. What about we take that space and we start making our own boxes? Like, can we make them cheaper? Okay, and I'm telling you, it's a good question, isn't it? I don't know. If I can make it cheaper and I'm cutting corners and I have a very slim profit margin, this might not be a bad decision, right? And it changes all the time. Like, honestly, did you guys know that there was a backup in the supply chain for all of the merchandise that's trying to move around the world? And part of it has been because of COVID. But you know what I woke up to this morning? I woke up to an image of a tanker that had like a bazillion containers on it in the Panama Canal, I believe, where they pass through all of the container ships. And it was sidewonky, and it was backing up every single container ship that was trying to get through. So if you think about it, they move around the world, right? These container ships, these big tankers with the big boxes on them, and one of the places they have to get through is the Panama Canal. It's the Panama Canal, right? There is the Suez Canal. I get them confused, but I think it's the Panama Canal, right? Well, one of them, so the canal is only like this big, and they go this way through. One of the container ships wound up sidewonky and was blocking the entire supply chain. There were hundreds of tankers that were waiting to get through that couldn't go through, right? So at some point we think about it as a company and we go, gosh darn it, can't we just make our own stuff so we're not as dependent upon, the supply chain? Like, this is really a thing, especially during this time of COVID. Like, house builder, and I'm not going to go on, but I'm just telling you that sometimes it might be cheaper to make it versus buy it, right? Okay, so that's what the Muesli Company is considering doing, and they currently manufacture 48,000, or they use 48,000 large boxes, or 576,000 per year. So they have determined that if they make their own boxes, it will cost them 12,000 in direct labor, because somebody has to sit over there and watch the boxes getting folded. They have to buy a box folding machine, and they have to buy the bundle of cardboard as the raw materials. And this much cardboard makes 990 boxes. Then they have labels, and then they have this fixed manufacturing overhead. So that would include things like the rent, the security guard, the janitor, all the fixed cost things that go into the facility, the warehouse facility that they're already paying. So let's look and see if it's a good idea for us to maybe make them. Wait, am I on the wrong thing? I'm on one that I already solved. So let's see. Okay, here we go. All right. So what are the relevant costs, right? That was one of the things I told you we got to pay attention to. So the relevant costs are, well, if I have that many boxes and it costs me 28 cents to buy that many boxes, then it's 161,000 euro. All right. How much do I have to spend for the warehouse space that it needs to make those boxes?
Wasn't it vacant? So 0?
Yes, Aaron, very good. I already had the space and it was collecting dust. So there's nothing additional I have to spend. All right. So my labor, I'm annualizing this, right? I'm annualizing this. So my labor cost me 12,000 a year. And there's how many months in a year?
12.
Oh, good. Okay. And then the equipment purchase, I only have to buy it once. So there's my one equipment. And the cardboard cost me 12 euro. And I need to make 576 boxes, but each lot of that cardboard makes me 990. So it's basically $69.82, right? Because I need 576 boxes, and this cardboard makes 990 of those boxes. So how many 990s go into 576 times 12? Okay, every box needs a label. So at 1 cent per label, and there's 576,000 boxes, there's that. And for fixed manufacturing overhead, if I'm already paying a lease, and let's say utilities are fixed, and my security guard, and my bathroom washer, and everything else, right? I'm already paying that. So making boxes is not going to be a cost I'm going to need to increase in order to make those boxes. So it's zero. So what's really the cost of making my boxes? And if we add it all up, look at, here's that auto sum again. Look at that. There's the cost for making my boxes. And how much did it cost me to purchase them? It cost me this much to make them. It cost me this much to purchase them. So it cost me more, $47,000 more to make them myself. So then, look over here. So should we make them, or should we continue to purchase them? Would you rather spend 161 to buy them from somebody else, or would you rather pay 208 and make them yourself? All right, that's the answer to number 5. But then number 6 says, well, what about this equipment purchase cost? Like, what do you guys think about that?
Maybe if the equipment purchase was just like a one-time purchase, it would be worth it because you wouldn't have to do that every time.
Yeah, and Aaron, it is. They don't have to purchase, it folds boxes all day long, right? So they only have to, but they don't have a folder now. So they need to for sure buy a folder, right? A cardboard box equipment folder, right? So maybe we need to evaluate this $52,000. And they told us that it will depreciate at 10,000 per year. So maybe it might be worth evaluating that and only putting the amount of depreciation in instead of the equipment purchase, right? But I want you guys to kind of mull that over and then think about, even if I did it over 5 years, then by the 6th year, maybe I would have none of that, and maybe it would start to pay off. But then I have to think about the time value of money. I mean, there's all kinds of things. But anyway, you just put in your best guess. Just tell me you're thinking about it, okay? And that's what goes in 6. Okay, so this decision was a, do I stay or go? Do I make or do I buy? Right? Who did that song? That was The Clash. Do I stay? Oh, I should put that in our song list. Do I stay? If I go, I will be. Okay, I don't remember the words. That is my era, though. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, so decision 3. Let's go to decision 3. If I go, I will be trouble. If I stay, there will be double. Okay, a new grocery chain is launching several stores in the northern region of Germany. It's a little bit colder. There will be a festival and lots of media coverage. So Muesli is thinking about running a special edition of mixed fruit muesli, right? Kind of like at the 4th of July, sometimes you can get that red, white, and blue vodka, right? I mean, it's just a one-time special thing. Okay, so they're thinking about it, and they're going to put out a 1K mixed fruit muesli just for this festival, and it's going to have special pretty packaging, and they're going to put some additional nuts in it, right, just to make it really special. So it's a one-time deal, right, but it's going to be great advertising. It's going to be a huge hit with the consumers. This is going to be great stuff. And the grocer that's put on this festival says, it's going to order 32,000 boxes of this muesli for a one-time deal. Okay. And the grocery chain thinks this is such a great idea that even though we sell this muesli for $7.90 a box, they think that we should sell it to the grocer for $7.25. So we're going to find out if we think that's a good idea or not, right? So the special order has special labels, and the special labels cost 2 cents each in addition to what we're already spending. And there's a setup fee, kind of like when you screen print a t-shirt or something, right? No variable selling expenses, because there's no commission, because we're already negotiating it up front. All right. The additional nuts are going to cost it 12 cents per box, and there's no transportation fees. Okay. So let's go over here and see if it's a good idea to sell this one-time special order to the grocer. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at it and we're going to say, well, this is what I normally spend, and this is what I normally get from a regular mixed muesli box. And then we're going to look at the special order circumstances and see if it's worth our while, right? We don't want to be snowed over. So the selling price is the selling price. We would, under normal circumstances, it would cost us $5.30 for the raw materials, $65 per box for the direct labor, variable manufacturing overhead, and selling, right? That's a normal box. We're not going to include the fixed manufacturing overhead because we just kind of want to isolate like what it really costs us per box. Okay, so what's our net profit? Our net profit would be the selling expense less all these expenses. And because I didn't subtotal this, I got to kind of do it this way. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Alrighty. So then what is it per order? If I had a regular normal order with 32,000 boxes, right? Not a special order, not some fancy festival thing. What kind of revenue am I getting if I sold 32,000 boxes of normal muesli? Now here I'm going to absolute cell reference the 32,000 so that I can take this formula and copy it on down. Like so. And then I'm going to copy this one over and I'm going to get $55,040 in net profit from a regular normal order of mixed fruit muesli. Right?
Professor, what was the first formula you used for the 252,000?
Oh, it's the 32,000 boxes times the revenue.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, dude, then this is the $5.30 times the 32,000 boxes, and so on down the line, right? Times 32,000. Oops. Okay. All right. So now let's look at the special order. Okay. So the special order, that silly grocer wanted to only pay how much for each box of muesli? Does anybody remember?
$7.25.
$7.25. Okay. And the raw materials that normally cost us $5.30 are going to cost us an additional 12 cents because of the additional nuts. Okay. But the direct labor is the same. The variable manufacturing, the same. What about selling costs?
Is it 0?
0. Good. No selling costs and no fixed manufacturing overhead. Okay, but the setup fee for the labels, remember how it was $500? So on a per box basis, I'm going to take the $500 and divide it by how many boxes. All right, and it just is coincidence. It's not anything, but the additional fancy label that they have to put on the boxes costs them 2 cents, but the setup fee is also 2 cents per box. Okay, but they're different costs. Okay, so now, Cole, what we're going to do with that is we're going to take the 725, multiply that times the amount of boxes that I think I'm going to sell, which is 32,000. And I'm going to copy that down to here. Copy that down to here. All right. And now I forgot to copy this. Okay, and there we go. Remember, I got these formulas because I also added a couple of extra cells that at the beginning didn't have anything, but I did that so that when I copied it over here, it would include these new costs. Because this isn't my first rodeo, I realized that after the first class. You guys are lucky to be like the third time through, so I can show you these shortcuts. Okay. So then let's look at the difference between my special order. So my special order, I'm going to make 232,000 in revenue, and a regular order of this would be 252. So I am a little under. You see that? And then I'm going to copy that formula down to here. So my raw materials, do you see that? They're a little over there. There's a little bit more raw materials because of those extra nuts. No difference in these two. And the variable selling, I'm actually saving, right? I'm saving $6,400 because I'm not having to pay the sales commission. Okay, and then I can take this, oops, and copy these down. So this one, I have an increase of $500 because I have that setup fee, and then this is for the labels themselves. Okay, so then at the end of the day, what's the difference in my net income? And the difference is that I'm actually, if I were to just sell 32,000 boxes, I'd make 55 grand, but this special order is costing me 30, I'm only making 35. So what do you think I'm going to tell that grocer? What am I going to tell that guy? Am I going to accept his offer for the special order?
No, you're not.
L to the no. That's right. No, I'm not going to accept that order, right? I just as soon spend my time making regular muesli. All right, unless there's a soft fee, but we're kind of like not there. But like if there was something else in it for me, like maybe I'd say, oh, well, I'm going to get a lot more advertising out of this and yada yada. But just given this information, I would not take that. Okay, so the next question up for grabs is, let's see, should the special order be accepted? And you can decide yes or no and tell me why. Okay, and then it says using GoalSeek, calculate the lowest selling price per box that they'd be willing to accept for that special order. Okay, so what's the lowest price? So what I'm going to do, watch this, you guys, because once we do a GoalSeek, it will no longer keep my original number. So if you want, and you just want to go play with it, I'm going to take this whole sheet. So do you see how I clicked on that top corner on the left? And I'm going to control copy, and I'm going to copy it down to a different sheet. Okay, I don't need all this stuff at the top, but what it did do is it brought down all the stuff I had just done, right? So it was just kind of a cheating way of doing that. Okay, and then the question is, what's the lowest selling price per box that they would be willing to accept for the special order? So for me, okay, I'm going to do a goal seek. So I'm going to come up to the data tab, to the what if, and to the goal seek. And I'm going to set this cell. And I'm going to say, like, it wasn't really specific, but I'm going to say, I want to make the same amount of net profit as I do on a regular order, right? And my regular net profit per mixed fruit is $1.72. Do you see that? There's my $1.72. So I want to know what I should charge per box given all the other information in order to make a net profit of $1.72. And the answer is I should charge $7.86 for a box of muesli for this special order. Now the grocer only wanted to pay me $7.25, and I'm saying, well, I really only want to do this if it's $7.86. And then the grocer, I'm going to have my own conversation here with the grocer. And then the grocer is going to say, come on, dude, this is going to be a great event. You're going to get some great advertising. Don't you think you could like meet me in the middle? So then I may come over here and I may go, okay, let's say I only am going to make, instead of $1.72, I'll make a concession. Maybe I'll agree to make $1.50 on each one. And what would the sales price need to be? And in this case, I tell you what, grocer, I'll sell them to you for $7.64, and I'm still going to take a little bit of a hit, right? I'm not going to make $1.72. I'm going to make $1.50. Okay, but I'll do it for that. So do you see the kind of the give and take there? Alrighty. So that's that one. All right, and then if you did do a new tab down here for your goal seek, just call it goal seek. Okay, so you can just rename that
Professor, how did you copy the goal seek over?
very carefully. So I went to here, right? I went to the top left corner and I just grabbed the whole thing. And then I did a Control C, which is copy, and I just made a new tab. See how I made a new tab, right? And then I just did a Control V and it brought over all my data.
Wait, so what was when you pressed the goal seek, what was the last digit you put in?
Well, for this one, okay, so here I am over here, right? So I went to data goal seek. So what I'm doing is I'm saying set cell G77, which is the net profit per box, set it to, and I just typed in something. I could type in, $1.75 if I wanted. And then I'm going to say by changing the selling price, right? So in plain English, I'm saying I'd like to make a net income of $1.75. What do I need the selling price to be in order to make that happen? And the selling price would need to be $7.89. And here you can see that I'll make a net profit of $1.75. Does that make any sense at all? Okay. Did that help with the goal seek? Did that do it for you?
Yeah, it did. Just when I originally did it, I was just getting a bunch of number signs in the 2 columns to the right, but this time it didn't do that.
Well, if you do get a bunch of number signs, like look at this, like might it have looked like this? Did it kind of look like that in your box?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that just means you didn't have enough room in your column. So you just come up here between the two columns and you double click and then it makes enough room.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, any day. You could write me in the middle of the night and I'd be able to tell you everything you need to do in Excel. But don't write me in the middle of the night. Okay, like look at this one, Aaron. See that? Right? Look at those things. So what do I have to do? I'm like,
You have to stretch the E one out. Double click it.
I go between E and F where it gets to be that little whatever it is, and I just double click, and there it is. Okay, so let's move on because we're almost done with decision making. Where am I? Okay, so that was goal seek. All right, and there, I'll take whatever goal seek you give me. Okay, R&D, they've been creating a product that can move it into new markets. Oh, this is exciting. They want to make energy bars. All right, so if you think about it, this is like we've made you know how you can eat Rice Krispie as a cereal, and then they made Rice Krispie treats, right? So you could take the Rice Krispies, put it in a bag, and put it in a box and sell it as cereal. Or you can take the whatever the rice is that makes it puffy, right? And send it on a different way and add some marshmallows and make it into a Rice Krispie treat, right? So that's what we call, the split off point, like the sell or process further. That's where we're going with this one. Okay, so they think they're going to take their muesli cereal and process it further and make it into a granola bar, right? And they're going to make 24,000 bars. And if they do, they're going to sell the bars for $2.95 each. So we're going to tell them if we think that's a good idea. So let's go over here. So if they make, this is for the 1K box of mixed muesli, right? It sells for $7.90. They're going to do that many boxes, yada, yada. If they sell 8,000 boxes of mixed muesli, instead of making bars, because there's only so much oat to go around, if they make the boxes of muesli, they're going to make a profit of 20,800 euro. All right. So if we make them into bars, what we need to do is figure out what are some of the costs that go into making muesli that would also go into making a bar. So we're going to say, well, I need all the wheat. I need all the oats. I need all the fruit. And I need that direct labor that got it to the stage of being muesli. What I don't need is the bag and the box for the muesli because I'm going to make them into granola bars. So I don't need that crap. Right? So my total manufacturing costs, I'm going to go to my home screen, go to my auto sum. My total manufacturing costs are 39,200. All right. So great. So far, that's just the materials that I needed to take from the cereal part of the production to moving on over to another area where I'm going to make bars. And when I make bars, I need lots of honey. I need peanut butter. And I need the packaging for the granola bars. That's different than the packaging for the muesli. Okay? So I'm just moving these costs over. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just moving them over. Alrighty. So now I have the, just so we don't lose track here, I have the common costs that I needed for the basic raw material ingredient stuff. Then I'm going to add some more costs to make the bars. And now I got to figure out if that's a really good idea or not. So they told me I'm going to sell them for $2.95 a bar. And they actually already gave me, well, I'm going to take $2.95, multiply it times the number of bars, the 780, which is also what they gave me over here. Okay. Now I'm going to take the joint common costs, which were the 39.2. I'm going to also take out the other costs to make it into a bar. And now what's the profit for my granola bars? Oh, no, there we go. Okay. So if I make, okay, here's how we look at it. If I make granola bars instead of mixed fruit muesli, I'm going to make 18,000 in profit. If I kept it at muesli and just sold the muesli as muesli in the boxes, I'm going to make 20,000. Get that? So, what would I rather do? Would I rather make 20,000 or 18,000? And here's the difference in the cost. Alrighty? So then it says, given the results, what advice would you give management at this point? This would be somewhat kind of sort of realistic. Like somebody says, hey, what do you think? Should we make this or not? Right? And you may have some arguments that are not necessarily financial. For example, will it expand my customer base? Will I get some cross-selling? If they like my granola bar, might they buy more muesli? You know, like there's other factors beyond this, but at least it kind of gets you thinking, doesn't it? Kind of interesting. But if you looked at it strictly financially, well, you know, you have to figure out which one's higher and which one's going to make you more money. All right, so that was decision, that was split off point, or process further, right? That was that kind of question. Alrighty, last question. Last question, you guys, and this one's a short one. So last question. It says right here that machine time is a constrained resource, meaning my muesli, my granola bars, everything has to go through this one machine. And it takes time. And this one machine is, there's only one of them. It's running 24/7 right now. I can't run it any more than it's already running. And yet everybody has to pass through this machine. So you got to think to yourself, well, which product spends the least amount of time in this machine? And whatever one spends the least amount of time it might be wiser for us to make that one first, right? If it means that we're going to make more money. So that's what this is showing us right down here. So this is decision 5. So here is the selling price for my mixed muesli, and here's the selling price for my granola bars. And you may think, well, hell's bells, granola bars are only making me $3.95, right? That doesn't seem like a lot. Seems like maybe I should like move the mixed muesli back, through first, because you've got a higher selling price. But then you look at the variable costs, and finally you get down to the contribution margin. And you can again see that granola bars, well, the contribution margin isn't all that big, is it? Right? So maybe we should focus on the mixed muesli because it's got the higher contribution margin. But then you come down here and you go, wow, look at how much time the 500 gram mixed muesli spending versus the 1K, and look at how much time the granola bar is spending in there. Do you see that? So the granola bar is not spending hardly any time in that machine at all. So now we're going to look at the contribution margin per constrained resource. And that's what this is a constrained resource. So for here, I'm going to take the contribution margin and divide it by how much time it's spending in that constrained resource. So in other words, I kind of like to figure out what 60 times this is. Yeah, so it's like 3 minutes, right? Or maybe that's 3 seconds, I don't know. But it's not very much time, okay, in that machine, as opposed to the muesli is spending like, I don't know, 30 times longer in that machine. So we're going to look at the contribution margin per machine hour for the mixed muesli by looking at the contribution margin and dividing it by the machine hour. So for 1 hour, in 1 hour, the granola bars is going to make 35,000. In 1 hour, the mixed muesli is going to make 2,000. All right. And the 500 gram is going to make 18,000. So now this is a new way of looking at it, isn't it? Right? So which order should I produce these things in? Which one's going to make me the most money?
The 500-gram mixed muesli.
No. Because
The granola bars.
no,
Upside down. I thought that said
35,000
18,000.
is bigger than 18. So I'd make this one
Wait, it's 3,500 or 35,000?
3,543. Yeah. So this number is bigger. So I do this first, I do that second, and I do that third. Okay. So then my last question, which is not on the thing here. Let's see. If the machine hours were able to be increased, meaning that like I could get another machine. Oh. Which order would I produce them in? So in other words, if this wasn't an issue, might I then just look at the mixed muesli and produce the one with the highest contribution margin? I don't know. So that's just something for you to think about. Okay, so I'm done with the case. That's it for the case. I'm going to stop the recording.